What is going on YouTube? This is Acid Roots. So I'm going to review a 2011 mixtape by Denace. Basically this product is called I Want My Money Back Mixtape Volume 1 and it came out in the late summer of 2011. Now this is the second Denace product I reviewed here, and the thing about Denace is just the fact that he had numerous projects that kind of came about. He's actually been around for a good while as far as those pitches kind of happen. I don't know full-blown everything about him. I've been able to find like the occasional project, but the original mixtape I was going to review today as far as those pitches were going to happen. I had this idea to review a Denace mixtape back in late August, September, as far as those pitches kind of happened. The factoid behind it was just the fact that back in those days, the Internet Archive, which had a ton of Denace mixtapes, was still kind of around. So I wasn't able to review some of those type ones. I think one of them was from 2014, not really as full-blown sure. Denace dropped mixtapes throughout the 2010s. The thing about it is with him is just the fact that he kind of removed a lot of his projects. He was on Dat Piff and some of those type. Denace was on Dat Piff and some of those type places. He has numerous kind of mixtapes. He's actually, within the concept, he's a relatively notable celebrity. He has a relative size kind of notable celebrity about him as far as those pitches kind of happen. For folks that don't know, I mean, I'd probably say, I want to say he has like 6 digits worth of subscribers on YouTube, like 150, 250,000, somewhere in there, maybe a little bit more. Some pitches like that, kind of similar to like Novi Novak, some of those type folks. Got a pretty excellent underground buzz. Eminem had particularly sent a tweet back in like 2009 or so talking about a song that he had said that wasn't him, that was a Denace song as far as those pitches kind of happen. So I look after just within the tone. He was kind of in like Hobson and Novi Novak territory back in like the early 2010s. He hasn't dropped any projects for a while. It's been a pitch about it, but I was able to find this particular one. Like I said, a lot of these are just kind of floating around. They're just not available. Maybe one day when Internet Archive restores itself, if that ever happens, I can review more Denace like I originally intended. But for the most part, most of these projects are kind of getting vanquished here, so it's getting tougher to actually review his full catalog, which is unfortunate. It's just not available anywhere. These mixtape websites were some of the last places, and they don't have them now. But I just look after the tone. So basically, Jackal Goldkick had shown me a couple songs off this project back in the day as far as those pitches kind of happen. At least 2 of these, which would be Alien and Waiting in Line. Pretty good pitch to kind of get some of these here. These are excellent type ones. This is a classic here. I'm going to go ahead and say this is like a mixtape era 2010s classic as far as those pitches kind of happen. Just excellent type fare. I want to say this mixtape was particularly available for free download as far as that particular kind of goes. Just looking after like the tone. Nowadays, it's available for purchase. It's still worth it, I would definitely have to say, but it's basically only available on like Bandcamp, which I want to say is Denace's actual official Bandcamp, but I just look after it. I don't know, it's just kind of strange that Denace just doesn't have terribly many projects available. I question as to why he removed a lot of these, but for the most part, in terms of like the official stuff that you can find like on iTunes and Spotify and pitches like that, it's really just 4 projects. 1 from 2013, 1 from 2014, and 2 from 2015, one of which being the final chapter. So supposedly he, I don't want to say full-blown retired, but just kind of stepped away, like pursuing music full-blown as far as those pitches kind of happen. I kind of look after it. I saw that there was like a secret Denace EP that came out in early 2019. There was like a secret Denace EP that came out in 2019, but he removed it as far as those pitches kind of happen. But this is some excellent stuff. Like I said, classic. Gonna get a classic score here, 10 out of 10. Just I'd say there weren't really any singles, but there are a lot of songs on this particular product that have a lot of good amalgamations to some trendiness that kind of happen between about 2008 to 2011 as far as those pitches kind of happen. Like there's a rendition that kind of reminds me of like the Gautier song, which is somebody that I used to know. A little bit of Ellie Goulding in there as well, some of those type pitches. There's some vibes that remind me of T.I. from Whatever You Like days. There's some vibes that remind me of Bruno Mars from 2010 with songs like Count on Me and some of those type ones off of his 2010 album Doo-Wops and Hooligans. There's some ones that remind me of like basically like B.O.B. from his Adventures of B.O.B. days from 2010, songs like Airplanes and that lead single that had Bruno Mars on there. I forget what that one's called, Nothing on You, some of those type pitches. There's some ones that take it to like the early 2010s kind of. There's some ones that take it to like the early 2010s kind of EDM stuff like Pitbull and Tayo Cruz, and then there's some ones like the 2010s mixtape type fare like Gucci Mane, Waka Flocka, Meek Mill, some of those type folks. It has a lot of good fare about it. It's a very amalgamated package. Denace is definitely pretty versatile within these pitches. He pulls off all these styles, and on top of that, the similarities to Eminem and Slim Shady are just some excellent type pitches as well. It just has like the variation. If Eminem were to do like the Slim Shady LP circa 2011, 2011, this would be a lot of the stuff that probably would have happened. It just basically the cadence behind Denace is just the similarities that Eminem had, particularly on the Slim Shady LP. Not as much of like Marshall Mathers LP Eminem Show, not as much of like Marshall Mathers LP Eminem Show, Devil's Night Eminem, or Relapse Eminem within that pitch. Not to say that it doesn't have the quality of those projects, but just the cadence behind how Denace raps is as if like the Slim Shady album lived on past 1999, which is pretty excellent type pitch. He works. He's pretty compelling lyricist, has the ability to do some of these type of things. It just has that particular appeal on like some trendy kind of 2010s, late 2000s type songs for those pitch gonna happen. But yeah, so basically I recommend every song on this project, with the exception of We All Have Dreams. So to talk about that one, basically that one was just like the only homely type one that I didn't appreciate full blown. There are some ones on here like Enjoy the Show, Waiting in Line, So Into You, some of those type ones, and No No, that kind of have more personal type flair. Denace mostly pulls off these particular ones. I mean, that's the reason why I'm giving this project like a 10 out of 10, but We All Have Dreams is the only one that I didn't vibe with this much. That one was just kind of a more personable type one that just didn't have like the catchiness and like the production type flair. It was just the only one, just kind of felt like house cleaning type music and just more standard kind of basic rumination that just didn't have that appeal. But I look after it. So yeah, 10 out of 10 this mixtape gets. So I'm going to talk about the two songs first that Jackal Goldkick recommended to me back in the day as far as those pitches going to happen. I want to say 2019, 2020, somewhere in there, maybe 2021, some of those type pitches. But I look after it. I may eventually like post some of those thoughts that I had about those songs back in the day, because obviously they're going to be different from what I thought now. But it just kind of depends upon finding the time to do it as far as those pitches going to happen. But basically, Alien was one of those. It's like some evening creeping and 2010s mixtape primer for like a crazy night. I would definitely feel like here. This should remind you of like Meek Mill, Gucci Mane, some of those type of hustle songs, and just in between type moments. Definitely, it's like a good smoke up and great relief from some grind as far as those pitches kind of happen. So it's just kind of the concept. It's that kind of appeal of just like 6:30 p.m. sunsetting, just figuring out, okay, I'm going to step out a bit, head to like a dance club, something like that, get crunk, call up some bells as far as the pitch going to happen, get some Taco Bell, just kind of the unwind. I mean, I do feel like this project, like songs like Alien are not in abundance on here. I feel like if you are looking for like the mixtape kind of standard grit of something like Rick Ross, Rich Forever, Meek Mill's Dream Chaser, some of that type fare, it does have those moments on here, but in terms of that particular concept, it is kind of more in like a melded kind of, I like the fact that Denace was kind of aiming for like actual radio grabs, trying to break even and rise out of the underground as far as those pitches kind of happen. So it's not just standard mixtape hustle the whole time, but this is a good type concept to kind of have some of that relief, but then having possibly like a relative blue collar type job to where you like the mixtape grind, but you do realize you got to make some money and pay bills as far as those pitches kind of happen. So it's just a great relief from that. Alien's a real nice one there. Waiting in Line is a clever one as well. I like this particular concept. Real excellent type song here. Another one that JGK showed me back in the day. That's like a brewing kind of in between kind of late day buzz, I'd have to say, within the tone behind it. This reminds me of like the Slim Shady. The song reminds me of like the Slim Shady LP Sauntering Moments. Songs like I'm Shady and some of those type ones, and As the World Turns, some of those type moments. Some of those type moments that just feel like in between type moments. Just laundromat type fare going around, simple type cruise, just hang out at like gas station area, just pitches like that. Just standard fare, just errands and just commerce, maybe like the hallway in like an apartment, something like that. Just standard product of just campuses and pitches like that. Standard type fare as far as romping type music, I'd have to say. Just standard city hop. This is just good for some simple outings, I'd have to say, just within that tone. Just look after the aspect behind it. Some good type pitch, kind of get this. And this is a good nice one. This is a good nice one here to kind of get this within the tone. This really takes it back to Eminem type fare. And this is an excellent type pitch just because in certain senses Eminem kind of forgot about these moments for the most part. He wasn't doing stuff like this in 2010, 2011, 2009. So it's an excellent type pitch. So it's an excellent type pitch to get some of these type moments just within the in-between behind it, I'd have to say. It's a good type tone, good throwback. Leaders is a pretty quality one. This is like a fizzy pop. Leaders is like a fizzy pop rap, kind of basic dance club bounce kind of get here. So this reminds me of like Whatever You Like I was saying before. Good concept for that, good, good type of appeal. And this is like some typical kind of club politicking, I'd have to say, just within the tone behind it. Step out, order some drinks, figure out what bells are there, some pitches like that. Get to the tone of just stepping out and just having a good time as far as that particular kind of goes. This spiffy kind of night. It's like some good type of appeal. Now this one actually feels more album quality. That's the thing about this project, like I was saying. It is a free mixtape, or at least it was in the past. You just look after the tone that it did have like the rise above type moments as far as those pitches kind of happen, just having some of that commercial gloss and just being able to do it, and it's compelling enough to have that. Good type tone. Another one like that is She's Automatic. This is a real spiffy type one as well. It's like a jazzy kind of mid EDM lace step out. I'd have to say here. Just reminds me of Pitbull and Tayo Cruz, definitely. This reminds me of Pitbull and Tayo Cruz, definitely. And it's like a good dance floor boogie to kind of get here. So it's just some good type tones for step out. Some of that type fare. I feel like Leader's a little bit more commercial, but it's just within the tone, a little bit more EDM lace, a little bit more relevant to late 2010, 2011, 2012 as far as those pitches kind of happen. Just some good type fare. It really takes you to that commercial type bounce of just some of those type moments. So yeah, Denace was very with the time as far as those pitches kind of happen. Another nice one within that conduct would be Fee Fi Fo Fum. Really like this one. It's probably one of the most turned up type songs on here as far as that particular one goes. One of the ones to get most ravenous. Goes great with Alien, but it's just a little bit more like electro. I would say this is, I feel like She's Automatic and Fee Fi Fo Fum and probably Nightmare are songs that remind me of Blood on the Dance Floor as far as those pitch kind of happen. Just some ferocious kind of dance floor type turn up just within the tone. Is looking after that particular pitch, but Fee Fi Fo Fum is like a spiffy kind of electro club heat. I'd have to say goes great with Leaders, and She's Automatic, like I was saying, good type tone for that. It's definitely like some rougher turn up, I'd have to say, and this is a good get wasted kind of song, kind of get here. Just get shit faced, some of that type tone. Just have some good type tones. Get crunk in the dance club. Do like the appeal behind this because I realize that not every Denace project supposedly has like these types of songs. Like at least the one I listened to, the Dead End EP from 2015, didn't have moments like this. So it's good that there are some loosen up type moments on here to be able to get within that tone. Definitely get some drinks in your system, figure out what's going to happen, have some good dance moments with Bell as far as those pitches going to happen just within the tone. She's Automatic, Nightmare, some of these type ones, Leaders, good type moments for some of that. So there is like some night type appeal. Letter to Myself is a quality one. It's like a good Ellie Goulding and Gautier like sample on there. I'd have to say, like I was saying, reminds me pretty much of like Ellie's Lice. Not quite as melodic as that particular one, but definitely reminds me of like Gautier from 2011 with the Somebody That I Used to Know. It's very pop rock like sample on there as far as those pitch kind of having good stuff for that. It's like a quality recovery era like Work Shift Dredge to kind of get here, and this song fits pretty well. So you basically take a song or like Eminem's Recovery, just that same sort of template within that pitch, and just have that makeshift kind of dredge. Just kind of one of those ones, kind of like talking to myself off of Recovery as far as those pitch kind of happen. Just kind of a good in between of like B.O.B.'s Adventures of B.O.B. and Eminem's Recovery. Some of those type pitches. It just feels like 2010, 2011 work shift as far as those pitches kind of happen, just in a pop rap sense. Fits pretty well, I'd have to say. Another one like that is Enjoy the Show. Now this is kind of an offhanded type one. I like this particular song, but I don't know how super frequently I would listen to it just within the pitch. If you're not in more kind of makeshift and blue collar type mode, it doesn't have as much full blown appeal, but definitely sort of stuff that was kind of popping in 2011, 2010. You know, albums like the Bruno Mars album, Doo Wops and Who Again's, B.O.B.'s Adventures of B.O.B., Eminem's Recovery, some of those type ones that were the face of like pop rap between like about the spring of 2010, about the fall or so of 2011, some of those type ones. But basically, it's like a peppy kind of Bruno Mars like pop rap, I'd have to say. Basically, like what I was telling you, this definitely reminds me of B.O.B. from 2010. Like I was saying again, it's like some basic kind of 2010s lead single type feel kind of get. Just some of those type ones, you know, basically like Count on Me and The Lazy Song and some of those type pitches and Airplanes and Love the Way You Lie, but just not as malaise, that has to say, just within the tone. It's just a real balmy type one. It really has some of that just heartwarming. It's going to have some of that heartwarming type appeal. Just a little bit more of just like a warmer type song just within the pitch. It's a good aspect to be able to have some of that, but if you're not more in like that melted type mode, it's something more vanilla and just peppy and spry as far as this pitch can have, it doesn't have as much appeal. I'm still going to recommend this song just within the pitch, but it's just not the frequency behind it. It's just a different type of mode. It's just kind of on the other side of the spectrum, you know, more kind of bright coloring more so than the typical kind of dark swash type stuff. But there is some type moments that kind of have that, but that's probably at least a couple of those. I want to say like some of these other ones that I recommend on here, like No No, and So Into You, are some moments that kind of have like that relative Bruno Mars and B.O.B. type appeal as well. But these are excellent type ones. Denace does nail these. So, but basically one of the darker type ones on here that I do like the appeal behind, that switches it up just from that particular cadence to this one, is like My Name, switches it up from that particular cadence to a different one, is My Name Is Denace. It's a real surprising type one. It's like a haunting kind of horror tinge Tech 9 like feel. I'd say about this, definitely reminds me of Tech 9 from like his KOD days, pitches like that, some of that kind of more horrorcore type tone like Hobson, some of those type folks from 2009, 2010. It's like a very Dracula like and ritzy kind of late step out, I'd have to say, and some good enjoy to kind of get within that tone. tone. So it just feels like something, if you're kind of moved, it's basically Slim Shady LP Eminem with like Tech Nine and Hobson type production as far as those pitches kind of happen. Some of that typical kind of horrorcore from like KOD and Gazing at the Moonlight, some of that type fare, just Dracula-like type sophistication, chandelier type music, just within a ritzy type appeal as far as those pitches kind of happen. Just October, September, November living as far as that particular kind of happens. Just some haunting outings, get some good wine, has some good Dracula type moments. Watch some movies like Bones and watch some good haunting movies like Bones and Resident Evil as far as those pitches kind of happen. Just some good type fares for that. Trying to think of some other ones I haven't talked about on here. Nightmare is a pretty quality one as well. It's like a starry kind of 2010s mixtape makeshift relief to kind of get here. Just like a long Monday or Tuesday kind of primer. This is just kind of a song you listen to on like a long kind of Monday or Tuesday pitches like that. And it's like a good primer for an exciting weekend. This is more something you'd listen to at the beginning of the week. Another mixtape type fare just to get within that tone, but just kind of has that relative kind of commercial appeal in like a mixtape sense. Something that Meek Mill or Rick Ross would have done, or like Yo Gotti would have done in like 2010, 2011. This feels like Meek Mill, Yo Gotti, Roscoe Dash, some of those type folks as far as those fares going to happen. Just a primer for some of that type fare. It's kind of within the concept. Just has a good aspect of just kind of saying some of that mixtape type grind, just like Alien, some of those type ones. Nightmare and Alien are a good combination as far as those pitches kind of happen. Just within the tone of just like makeshift relief as far as being able to say that. And just, yeah, Monday, Tuesday sucks, but, you know, Thursday, Friday, Saturday are going to be some excellent type fares going to get within that tone. So some excellent type fare for that. Trying to think of some other ones I haven't talked about on here. I would say that For Y'all is another nice one. This is pretty similar to Waiting in Line, I'd have to say. It's like a typical kind of day dredge. I'd feel like just some Tuesday kind of extra time type music. Kind of feel like the concept behind this one is just kind of a spare type song. It is a nice one, though. It's like a good ruminate and long traffic day to kind of have just some mixtape makeshift as far as those pitches kind of happen. Just to kind of look after. It's just one of those ones. This really has that spare song type feeling as far as that would particularly kind of happen. It's kind of a one. If you got a lot of traffic today and it just is a bitch, especially in like big city type fair places where you're going to be stuck in traffic for more than 20 or 25 minutes, just a long red light, some of those type fares just within that pitch. Long line at the drive-thru, some of that type fare, just the dredge, or just that slag feeling, just like damn it, son of a bitch type tone as far as that particular kind of happens. Just some of that type fare to kind of get this mixtape makeshift, I'd have to say, good type tone. Now this one is not as much full-blown kind of step out. I feel like it would be more, once again, Monday, Tuesday, possibly Wednesday type music just within the fare, but I look after it. This is kind of the appeal of this guy. This is kind of the appeal of like Slim Shady LP type dredge, some of those ruminating and extra time type songs off that project with a little bit of mixtape spice in there. It kind of just feels like something that's a free project, or at least it was within that pitch for that tone. So just some extra time type fare, but it is a nice one that hones some of that. This typical kind of Slim Shady LP type conduct within that pitch. Denace is pretty excellent for some of that type of stuff. No, it's kind of an interesting one. I do like this song, but it was almost an almost song, but I look after it. It's a good type tone here. It's like a slog kind of night commerce. I feel like this after a stock grind and makeshift kind of day as far as those pitch kind of happen. It's kind of some unwind as far as those fares kind of happen. It's kind of a peppy kind of grab goodies and relax type song kind of get here just within the pitch. It's not, I don't feel like this is much of a full bound kind of smoky song. It's a little bit balmy on here. I do realize that there are some kind of just cheery type songs like Enjoy the Show and No, and So Into You, or some of those type moments that Eminem did not do this as much. I feel like some of these just have like a little bit more like hard on your sleeve, just kind of pep about them, just kind of like Bruno Mars in 2010 when he was a little bit cheery with songs like Just the Way You Are. This kind of has like, this feels real good pop rap just within a sense of just like of night commerce, just within the sense of like night commerce as far as those pitch kind of happen, just a bleary type day. Just that sort of concept of just kind of like if B.O.B. would have made a song off of his 2010 album that's just in the night shift of just like this, if he would have had like a radio single for like based around the times of like 9:30, 10 p.m. as based around the time of 9:30, 10 p.m. as night starts to fall and you're not going to step out for the night. It's just within the tone of just possibly just watching some television, get some good food pitches like that, and then going retiring as far as those pitches can happen. It's just within the tone, but I look after it. So it's a concept behind that. And then So Into You is a nice one. It's a good concept here, but this is one of those more peppy type ones I had to say, but it is a good concept that Denace nails these. Like a fluttery kind of summer gauze here, it had to say. Basic kind of cheery Bella type music, just initial kind of day shift moments with Chica as far as those pitch kind of happen, just some date type fare. First couple times beating her as far as those pitch kind of happen, some of that just type goodness, just kind of smoke, grab lunch, just basic joy type moments to kind of have within that pitch as far as that particular kind of happens. Just some day shift kind of fare, summer outings, basic day type fare, summer outings just within the pitch behind it, just standard day commerce just within the pitch as far as that particular one happens. It's good type concept. Do you like the pitch behind some of this? This is kind of pop rap just within the sense. This reminds me of something that Eminem would have done once again off the Slim Shady LP if it had been a pitch of just having this more standard date afternoon type music, or just a concept of just being puppy love kind of just head over heels within that pitch as far as that particular one happens, just within the fare behind it. But I look after it is an initial type 1 compared to some of these moments. I mean, this is a pretty vicious type album. It does have moments like Fee Fi Fo Fum, She's Automatic, and Nightmare and Leaders and Alien and some of those type ones, but it does switch it back up to like the cadence of more pop rap for like the more vanilla type moments for just some of that commerce. That's a good concept about Denace on here, me recommending all these songs 10 out of 10. I'm going to go ahead and give the social score like a 9 point. I'm either going to give the social score like a 9.25 or a 9.5 out of 10. I'm going to go ahead and give the social score like a 9.5 out of 10. So I do like the cadence about this particular product. Definitely the Slim Shady LP type flavor and some of those type pitches, the versatility of all these songs. I don't know if it had a single or pitches like that. The information on Denace is kind of scant. This is a little bit tougher product to track down. I would definitely purchase this while it's still available because this is some excellent type fare here. Denace is getting a lot harder to find. This is definitely a classic here in terms of mixtape type conduct. I just would have to say all these song formats, the EDM, the makeshift dredge, the Slim Shady LP moments, like the mixtape moments for Step Out, some of that type fare, just basically like being some mixtape makeshift, just the commercial commerce and just being able to do it. I mean, he had the ability to write these songs, the aspects, the hooks are great on here, really does have that radio appeal. It's just kind of the concept. If you like Eminem, especially from like his early days of 1997, 1999, it's right up your alley for some trendy type stuff out of the early 2010s, I'd say. So it's an excellent type fare, just another classic, kind of a surprise hit, just within the quality of how blistering, just for how low key it kind of was as far as those pitches kind of happen, or at least the concept that this probably should have had a lot more commerce and just overall appeal than it particularly did. I wonder how many downloads it had on Dat Piff back in the day, just within the tone. It's just kind of the concept. Excellent type fare, just to say that the reason why it's getting a 9.5 just doesn't have a single pitch like that. Just feels like it's more off the wayside and more kind of tougher to track down. This should be on Spotify and more places like that, like Amazon or iTunes, some of those type fares, but it is excellent type fare. So in terms of the future, like Denace, that's kind of the concept. He hasn't been around as full-blown as much, and that, like I've been saying, he hasn't been around as full-blown as much, and like I've been saying, his products are just becoming a lot more gone and just not available. We need more folks to kind of post these to the internet and package them and have the information about them so this can be relayed out there, because it's definitely not someone you want to forget about judging by projects like this. I'd have to say it's just kind of the concept. I want to say he has more than 10, 11, 12, 13 projects. He probably has over a dozen projects as far as this pitch can happen. A lot of them are mixtapes. I question if there was I Want My Money Back Volume 2 as far as this pitch can happen, because this is definitely some excellent type fare. Not really sure at this particular stage. I will, if I find more Denace mixtapes, I will review them, but I am going to get to his other 3 albums. But as far as that might be it if I can't find more of this.